Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for clicking on today's video. I am so excited to be doing this, okay? I love to read. I love booktok recommendations. If it weren't for booktok, I wouldn't have any of these books. So I'm just so excited to be telling you guys whether you should or you shouldn't. And I love to talk. I love to talk about the most popular books, and I love to share my input. And you know, oh my gosh, I have had way too much caffeine, but that is great because then I can just yep about all the books. And you probably think I'm freaking crazy, but yeah. I'm so excited to do this video, you guys. Do you see these? You don't even see them all. I don't think it's just me, but thanks to booktok, bookstagram, booktube, whatever you want to call it, they have definitely had an influence on my book buying problem. Odds are, if you're watching this video, it's because you have a problem like me. A video blows up on TikTok or Instagram, and suddenly here I am buying the book, and what do you know? I have all the popular booktok books because I can't help myself. And I'm sure, you know, that's why you're watching this video, because I love it. You know, if it weren't for booktok, if it weren't for Instagram, you know, bookstagram, booktube, I wouldn't have any of these books. Everyone has said that they absolutely loved it and that I needed to buy it. And what did I do? I bought it and I read all of them. So I'm going to be telling you guys whether you should read them or not, or, you know, if they lived up to the hype, so to say, because 90% of the time you guys know what you're talking about, and I love it. I think it's acceptable for me to leave a review and let you guys know if you should like hurry up and read it because it's that good. Why are you waiting to read it? There's no standalones in this. I specifically wanted to do series, so I'm so excited to do this video today. It took me so long to finally finish all of these series that I've had on my shelf for probably 2 years now, and it feels so good to know that like I finally read them all. And there is one that I did not finish. It's a trilogy. I didn't finish the last book, and you're gonna find out which one. I feel very accomplished. I love to finish a series whether I like it or not. And it's very hard for me not to finish a series, especially when I'm 2 out of the 3 books. Okay, disclaimer. These are my opinions, okay? I read all of these and this is what I think. You might have read all of these and you might have a different opinion, but hey, it's me. It's what I think. It's my channel. It's my video. So just a disclaimer that this is what I think. You know, you might love a book that I hate, and I might hate a book that you love, and that's okay. That is the joy in reading. You know, that's what's so fun about reading. I cannot wait to talk about these books. I feel so accomplished after reading all of them. Thanks to booktok, I literally would not have known about these books, and I'm so thankful for that because I loved like almost all of them. So I'm gonna go into detail with each specific series and like each specific book, like which one I like the best. I just enjoy reading so much, and if it weren't for booktok recommendations, I wouldn't have these books. And honestly, it's probably why I have a book buying problem now, because I just get so obsessed with someone raving crazy about a book or a series, and then I'm just like, oh, I have to buy it now because you loved it and you like another series that I loved, so automatically buying it. And I'm sure we all have the same problem, but you know, at least I'm reading books and like not doing drugs. Okay, I'm gonna get these moved out of the way and then we can start series by series. There's gonna be no order in this video. It's not gonna be like best to worst or anything like that. It's gonna be like all mumbo jumbo. I'm just gonna do like one series at a time, and there's no specific order because I didn't have time to do that, and you know, so. Okay, let's get into the video. Let's start talking about these series and why you should or shouldn't read them, or if you haven't purchased them yet, to go ahead and then purchase them, because I think all of these should be purchased regardless because they're just so beautiful. And I love, as a book reader slash collector, because I think that's part of the problem too, they're just so beautiful, and to know that I have them just feels great. Oh, I really hope you guys can't see these because I'm not fixing it. I'm not fixing it if you guys can see it because I don't care. If you can see it, well, we're gonna get to it anyway. So if it's in the clip, well, there's a sneak peek. Okay, first and foremost, I think I have to start with ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses, this series. This was the very first series that I impulse purchased. Not only, I think because this was my first impression of a BookTok series, I went into this blind. This series, okay, first off, yes, purchase it, buy it, experience it. I had so much fun as a new reader when I got into this, man. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop reading. I was addicted. If anyone has never read ever in their life and they just want to start getting into reading, this is so much fun. Do it. Buy it. I would recommend this to anyone. Any person ever. Anyone. I know a lot of people will say they either hate it because there are people out there who hate Sarah J. Maas, and there's something wrong with you, because why would you ever say that? I understand that there are other good series out there, but I just haven't gotten there yet. And I don't think I could ever discriminate. ACOTAR, you guys, it's so good. I had so much fun. And as someone who like just got into reading and like for the first time was experiencing like a world, this was like way more romance based. Like I had read a couple romance books, but like series wise, this was like your eyes are open and you're watching a movie. Like you're reading words on a page, but like you're watching a movie. This, I wanted to go in the book. Like I was like, what? You know, I finished the book, I'm reading the next one, and but I want to be there. I want to go to Valeris. I want to be there. If you're like me and you love romance and you want it to be fun, like, just buy it. If you haven't bought it yet, buy it. If you haven't read it yet and you own it, girl, read it. Like, how long have you had it on your shelf and you haven't read it just because you're scared it won't live up to the hype? Do it. Do it. It's so good. It's so fun. I absolutely loved ACOTAR, and this is still probably my top tier. This is still probably number one. So I think this will always just have a special place in my heart because I read it first, and every single series I've been comparing to has been to this one. And I don't know if it's because this was my first experience and it's just like embedded in my brain that that's how series and books need to be. Like it just needs to live up to this. But I can't, my brain, I speechless. It probably took me 2 months to read this, but it took me a whole month to read this one. Okay, if you read the first book and you didn't like it and that's because you didn't read the whole series, shut up. You have nothing to say. I didn't hear what you said. You need to finish the series and then reiterate that statement. So yeah, A Court of Thorns and Roses, it sets the tone for the whole series. If you don't read this, you won't understand anything. Probably about here, like the last third, it gets good. Just get through the first book. It's a little boring at first. Sets the tone. You need to understand the characters, and it's like that when you start any new book. I just wish I could read this again for the first time. All right, if you're still watching, even though this is the first series, you either think the same thing or I have persuaded you. Okay, next is the Shatter Me series. Definitely doesn't compare to ACOTAR at all. I think I was just having so much fun and it was my first time experiencing like fantasy. There was a little bit of romance, not as much as I would have liked. It was more fantasy focused. So take that with what you will. I would say if you are just starting out reading, I would say this is a great starter. It's very easy, it's fun, it's appropriate. I actually lent out the first book to a friend because eventually I was going to give them every one in the series so they can read the whole series, and I never got it back, and it's been like over a year. So I'm permanently missing the first book until I replace it. I don't know how to say this without spoiling, because if you haven't read this yet, I don't want to spoil it. The bad guy, I'm not going to say who, but like obviously if you've read this, you know what I'm talking about. The bad guy was trying to like ruin the love story the whole time, and just like it wasn't working. It would never work. The love was too strong, and I think that was so beautiful. I wish I could have read this when I was like 14. It is like very young adult. It's not boring at all, but like if you like romance, adult romance, you know, this is gonna be a little bit of a drag. You're waiting forever and ever and ever, and then the page flips and nothing. But that's okay. the Shatter Me series. It was so much fun and it's beautiful, and I recommend this to anyone who is younger. What I can say is that this was my first book boyfriend, Warner. So that's why I don't think I'll ever rate this like a bad read. You know, I enjoyed it. I've heard it's an even better experience with the novellas. I don't know if I will read them, but I think it's best to read them like in between each story because it just gives you a little bit more. Like if you're younger, I definitely recommend this. I wish I would have read this when I was younger. I probably would have like rated this my favorite series of all time ever. But what I can say from this is yes. I wouldn't rush to read it, but if you have it, give it a try. Fourth Wing. This bad boy right here. Oh yeah. Yes. Read it. Miss Rebecca likes to leave you on a cliffhanger, so just know that. She did it with all of them. So that's the only thing that sucks. This was probably number 2. When I would compare this to Avatar, I'm like, oh, it's almost there. It's almost just as good. If not, it is. I don't know, it's so hard for me to rank anything higher than Avatar because I had so much fun reading it. But dang, Fourth Wing, oh girl. I waited so long to read these. I read these when this one came out, and this one came out this year. Yeah, this was a series that I had on my shelf that I did put off for a really long time, and I was a little upset. So I'm here to tell you, if you have these on your shelf just like me, girl, read them. Read them, you'll have so much fun. Warning, you'll be obsessed with this when you read it. Talk about romance. She did a very good job with the romance in this fantasy romance. Again, this series gets some hate and I don't understand. Why would you ever hate something so good? I think it was because like it was wrongfully labeled. Like they were labeling it as an enemies to lovers, but like immediately there really wasn't an enemies portion. It was more of like a forced proximity than enemies. And I think people like, if it says enemies, like they need to hate each other. Girl, I don't care. They can pretend to hate each other and I still call it to enemies to lovers. I can say, I think that my favorite book out of the 3 so far is the first one, which usually is the opposite because it's always like towards the end, the story comes together and it's so much better. At least if you're not gonna read any of these, read the first one. It's so fun. It'll probably make you want to buy the other ones though because it was so good. Dang, she really started off with a banger and then left us with these. And what is there a release date for the 4th one? I heard, what is there, like 5? Is there supposed to be 5 in this series? Cause dang, if I read the 4th one and she leaves me on a cliffhanger again, I'm not buying the 5th one. I can't do that to myself. Like, or I will wait until the 5th one comes out to read the next 2 because I loved it so much and I had so much fun and I read them so fast that what am I doing? What are you doing to me? You know, what are you doing? I can't, you're putting me through too much. Stephanie Garber, the Caraval series and Once Upon a Broken Heart series. We're gonna do Caraval first. So, Once Upon a Broken Heart is a spin-off to Caraval. They say you need to read this first to read this. I say if you have this, like if you already purchased it, go ahead and read it first. It's not necessary. You don't need to go out and buy these. Like if you only have the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, you don't have to go out and buy these. I can say though, I enjoyed Once Upon a Broken Heart way more than I enjoyed Caraval. I liked it. I wouldn't rave about it. I would rave about Once Upon a Broken Heart. Reading Caraval first, I think getting an understanding of like the game, the tricks, the mind magical realism type story with Caraval, it like sets the tone. I went into Once Upon a Broken Heart with the idea that I was entering another like Caraval world. So Caraval, it's like a game, which is fun. It wasn't great, but it was good. So I'll give it that. If I have to convince you to read one of the 2, obviously Once Upon a Broken Heart. I think it's a preference. I think if you read Caraval first, you're in this like, is it real? Is it the game? I don't know. is this person real? Are they telling the truth? Are they lying? Once Upon a Broken Heart was definitely more romance focused, and I care more about that than like the game or like the plot of just like playing the game and making it to the end and figuring out who it is and if it's me or whatever, like whatever. I think for the experience, I did enjoy Once Upon a Broken Heart better because I knew a little bit of the backstory from Caraval, but you don't need to read it. I think it's just a preference. If you already read Caraval, go ahead, read Once Upon a Broken Heart. It's gonna be even better. But if you only have Once Upon a Broken Heart, don't go out and buy Caraval. It's really not worth it. That's just my opinion. I will say Stephanie Garber is very good at creating really unique worlds and universes. So if you like to have fun reading like that and really feel like you're not sitting down on the couch reading a book and you're like there with the character, I recommend her. She's very good at having that like imaginative world, which is, I feel, I don't know, kind of hard to do. Making the dystopian world feel like really cool and unique in that like you wanted to eventually like, oh, like I want to be there. I want to go there. Like I want to be a part of it. Both of these. Stephanie Garber and Sarah J. Maas. I can say that for both of them. They did a very good job with the imaginative creation of their worlds. Oh man. Next up is the Twisted series by Anna Huang. Wang. I don't know how to say it. This was my first romance series purchase because of booktok. This could be yes or no. Yes for the first two, Twisted Love and Twisted Games. No for Twisted Hate and Twisted Lies, and I'll tell you why. These two, I loved the tropes, I guess. These, they weren't bad, but I didn't love them, which Spice is great in all of them, but I think it's the trope. I think that's where I'm getting all like mixed up. This, the first one, okay, first of all, some people love or hate this book, and okay, whatever. I think it's because this was probably one of my first like Spice romance books. I had nothing else to compare it to. But I think that's why I fall under the category of loving it. This, so we get started with the main character. It's her and then her brother's best friend. So that was really fun to read. And the second one was the main girl from this one. It was her best friend and her bodyguard. So those are like really fun, different from any like romance books I read. At this point, I just got into reading, and this was my first romance series purchase because of booktok. And when I did buy these, everyone was still raving about them. I don't know, I think Twisted Games was probably my absolute favorite, but don't hate on the first two. I like them a lot. I think, you know, everyone has a different opinion, but I loved the first two. It is a billionaire romance series, which I didn't even know until I read the whole thing, that like, oh, they're all loaded. Twisted Games, Twisted Love, yes, 100%. You guys, you're probably gonna hate me for this, but I didn't enjoy. I like them. I don't hate them. I didn't enjoy them as much as the first two. I think I just had more fun reading the first two than the last two. I recommend this series if you've never read it. If you do have it, I recommend reading the first two. I mean, obviously, if you've already bought the whole thing, read them all, I guess. It wasn't horrible. The spice is good in all of them, but if you don't have these and you keep seeing everyone talking about them, you shouldn't go out and buy all of them. Just buy the first two. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
That's my opinion!
Okay. This was the series. I read the first two, and I didn't read the third one. But I think it's because the first two... Okay. The first one was okay. It wasn't that bad. But the second one, I don't know. It was just not that good. And I think because I was like dragging myself to finish this like halfway through. And like these are thick books. Yeah, like almost 600 pages, 550 pages. That's a lot, especially if I'm getting bored and I'm just like, that's my excuse. I plan on reading this one. I hear that everyone says this is their favorite one. And I think it's because in the first two, we already know that the two characters in here freaking hate each other. They can't even look at each other. There's like a lot of tension, and there's a past that they don't really talk about in the first two books, and that's probably why this is everyone's favorite, because it's just like the two characters that freaking hate each other love each other. I don't think I could ever not read this. I think I just got caught up with other series first, and because I was so disinterested in the second book and dragged myself through it to finish it, that I was just like, oh, finally I'm done with that book. I'm not gonna read this one yet. However, I did read By a Thread by Lucy Score. I loved it. So yeah, the Knock 'Em Out series by Lucy Score. Yes, no, and I'm hoping this is gonna be a yes. So I'll tell you guys that later, and I'm sure it will be. So yes, Knock 'Em Out by Lucy Score, maybe. I don't know, a little overhyped. The 8-book series, Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. First off, this took me forever to get through. The series took me probably 3 months, and I was reading it during the holiday season. Like, that's when I kind of started it. So I was getting really caught up with Thanksgiving and then Christmas and then my birthday right after. So this took me forever to get through. It took me too long to get through, and I feel it was too long. If it was shortened down a little bit, it was way more fantasy focused than romance focused, and that might be why I got a little bored in the middle of it. I will say it was a beautiful story. It was very beautiful. Like, it will always be embedded in my brain. Like, it needed to be snipped down a lot, but the emotional damage that this will do to you is unreal. I didn't read The Assassin's Blade first. So The Assassin's Blade, it's part of the series, but they label it as a novella, and you can read it many different ways. You can read it in the beginning, which a lot of people recommend. I don't recommend. You can read it after Throne of Glass, so that you're reading it after the first book, or you can read it after the second book, and that's what I did. I read Throne of Glass first, and then I read the second book, and then I read the novella. When she made this series, she intended the novella to be read, like when she published it, it was to be read after the second book came out. At the end of this book and at the beginning of this book, it was almost like, not a cliffhanger, but the gap, it was like the right time. It made starting this book way more dramatic. To me, the information we got in this book, I would have forgot reading it first. So I think having this fresh in my brain and then going into this book, oh, it was perfect. I loved that I read it this way and not this way. I think the information that would have been told to me, the timeline, it was all, and that's why people want you to read it first, because the timeline is like 2 years before and then all this happens. But I don't know, the information that they give you, there's like 4 mini stories in the novella, and they all apply to the entire series. So like, I read it after the second book, and I recommend anyone who has never read this to read it after Crown of Midnight. I read these 4, loved it. These 2, I was getting really bored because it was very fantasy focused. Tower of Dawn was very romance focused. These 2, okay, this series is so freaking big. These 2 can be a tandem read. So you can read them like simultaneously, like read a chapter of this, then this, then this, then this, and then you finish both at the same time because you're tandem reading. Okay, first off, don't skip this one. Most people skip it. Oh my gosh, whatever happened at the end of this book? I had to read this whole stupid book to figure out what happened to the main character getting to the end of the book, the last book. For me, I think because it took me so long to read this series, I was so happy to finally finish Empire of Storms. There was so much fantasy. I enjoyed the break that I got because this whole book, I'm like, where is this character? And the character was in this book, and we got the entire plot line while this was happening. I'm like, why didn't you just make it one book? That's why, like, maybe I recommend tandem reading it, but I did enjoy the break that I got because this whole book, where's that character? Where's the character? She waited for this entire book. She put the character in this whole book. Everything that happened at the end of this book, you don't find out what happens until after you finish this. And I feel like that's why a lot of people don't like this one, because you have to finish this whole book to get to the last book. And then you figure out, you know, obviously what happens. But I love Tower of Dawn. This is probably one of my favorites in the whole series. It was a breath of fresh air from the whole series. It was so long. It was a beautiful series. I say go into this with an open mind and a lot of time and be prepared for the hangover. I could not read anything for like 2 weeks. It took me a very long time to get through them, and my brain was still stuck in the world after finishing it. Be prepared. The emotional damage that you get from the series is real. It messes you up. Personally, that's fun every once in a while, you know, it'll alter your brain chemistry. Read this with caution. I will say I wish there was more romance. It was more fantasy focused. There was a lot of trauma in this book with the main character. That's the difference between Throne of Glass and ACOTAR. Throne of Glass is fantasy focused. There's some romance, duh, but fantasy focused. I read ACOTAR first and then I read this. I think I was expecting ACOTAR on crack, and that was not the case. I think my expectations for Throne of Glass were a little bit different because I read ACOTAR first, so I was expecting like another type of ACOTAR, but it wasn't as romance focused. This book was painful. This was the biggest book I've ever read in my whole life. 983 pages. I could say that I read this and I feel great. You will need palate cleansers after reading this. But yeah, Throne of Glass, yes, I recommend it. If there are other BookTok series that you have read because of BookTok that you want me to read and then review, let me know in the comments. And that's what makes reading so fun. You're gonna love a series better than another, and if I didn't have books, where would I be? Those were all of the BookTok series that I read, and thank you guys for watching my video. If you guys have any input, any comments on what I said, leave it down below. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any other video recommendations, please let me know. I appreciate you guys watching and tuning in. And if you haven't already, go ahead and follow my Bookstagram. I will link it in the description below. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
It's nights like this when I need your love, when I miss someone,